Three, two, one. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Last Act podcast with my co-host Carlos Rodriguez, and now we have a new guest, one of Carlos's friends, Caleb. Carlos, would you care to introduce Caleb for us?
Yes, well, Caleb here is one of my good friends. I actually go to school with him. He is my speech captain, a great individual. I could not have more respect for a person than Caleb. I mean, he is one of a kind. He really is. We met at I want to say it was GI. Yeah, it was GI, right, Caleb?
Yep.
Yeah, we were co-actors there. Yeah. But I don't want to tell the story for you. And I also I don't really know a lot about you. You know, we sort of just met last year. It was like at the end of the year. We didn't start communicating until speech. But I do have a question for you. Is did you always live in Chicago? What was your upbringing?
That's a good question. First off, I want to say thank you again for having me. I really appreciate that. Yes, my upbringing has always been in the Chicago area, more specifically the Blue Island area. I've lived here all of my life, attended school here, made most of my friends, if not all of them, here, and it's been a great experience. Of course, you always want to branch out and find different areas to go to, different places to see, people to meet. But as far as the Chicago area and the Blue Island area, I've made some pretty great experiences here, and I wouldn't take anything back for it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place here. I mean, I'm still kind of new. I don't know if I told you this, but I myself wasn't raised in the Chicago area, so it's yeah, and it was yeah, it was sort of a thing that lent you all these opportunities. Like, you get to meet interesting individuals such as yourself, but again, you get to sort of bring together two people who have never met. It's like you, Brandon, who he's a good friend of mine from Oregon, and it's crazy that that now it's a good friend from Oregon and a good friend that I made from here. It's and yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you and Brandon have exchanged many words. Have you, Brandon? Have you guys talked before this? Or?
We messaged back and forth a bit so we could get this recording set up, but I'm looking forward to learning more about him more during this episode.
Likewise.
Right. Yeah, and something that we all have in common, and I've sort of learned from watching your stories and having you as a mutual on all sorts of social medias, and knowing Brandon personally, it's we all sort of have an interest for the PS5, and I know that you yourself have acquired the PS5,
Lucky
the
bastard.
hard to
Oh,
right. No, yeah,
definitely.
it's, oh my god, how, all right, before we get into the later stuff, the deeper stuff, I kind of want to know, how is the PS5?
Well, first off, let me say my upbringing always consisted of Microsoft and Xbox.
Oof.
So this transition from from the Xbox to the PS system, it was hard.
Mm.
But I realize now that you kind of have to grow up at some point. So the PS system itself, it's amazing. The PS5 in general, it's really great. The new games, and then just the feel of everything when you put your hands on that controller, it's it's like, for me, getting my very first basketball. You love it, and just the games. My first one was Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I can tell you, I stayed up all night playing that one game because it was insightful. Plus, you love those games where you can relate to the character, and the PS5, they've exemplified that. It sucks that I couldn't get it for the Xbox system. If it did, then maybe I would have stuck with it. But after learning and paying attention and doing my research, because you always want to do research, the PS5 system, of course, it's been around longer, and it gets better with age, just like wine. So it's a really great thing, and I'm glad that I have it now, and I'm looking forward to everything that the PS system is going to produce. So yes, I guess you could say I'm team PS5 now.
Oh yeah, that's what we want to hear, right, Brandon?
Yeah, that's
Team
exactly what
PS5
we
for
want to
life.
hear. Since
Yeah,
since you've been on both sides, I have not. Would
Yeah,
you
me either.
say Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, it's a good one.
that's a really good question.
Be careful, man. You might start a war
Well,
here.
well, like I said, I grew up with the Xbox system. I had the very first Xbox. I played the Mortal Kombat,
Mhm.
and then of course I've upgraded every single year until the new Xbox itself. You've had the Kinect system, and when I did that transition, because the first PS system I played was probably the PS2. Great, by the way. You always want to go with the classics, and from there building up to the PS4, which my dad got for me last year, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And then a year later, the PS5. Okay, so um, I would have to say the PS system only because you have certain games that you can't find for the Xbox and vice versa. But I mean, Halo isn't that really good. So, like I said, it's really a growing up process. But the PS system, like I said, it's kind of grown on me, and it's still growing on me. But as of right now, it does have my heart. So, as much as I want to not say it, PS wins.
That's what I like
Yeah,
to hear.
you're right.
PS
Yeah.
wins. Yeah.
Carlos, you
Oh my
gotta let him
god,
play Uncharted.
dude, you have to play Uncharted now that you're a member of the PS Nation, bro. Please, Caleb, you have to play Uncharted. It's an
Oh,
experience. It's an experience.
the first game I played on the PS4 was probably The Last of Us. I
That is
enjoyed
a
the
Oh,
great
first part.
start.
forget
I
about
enj-
it.
yes, I enjoyed the first part. Now I've heard skeptics about the second one. I've started it, but I didn't finish it because I heard Carlos say it. I heard other people say it. I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't finish this. But it was kind of getting good, so I don't know. But it started off uh, pretty, dull and dim for me. So the first part of that game was probably, yeah, like you said, it was a great start, and then from then on, I just kept trying to build up my repertoire with PS gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I don't really blame you. I think that's what Last of Us really fails on. It's if you're not really like familiar with the sort of tone that Naughty Dog was trying to get, I feel like I understand why someone would think that it's sort of like dull to begin with. But yeah. I mean, that's one of the few things that Brandon and I sort of like find an agreement on is that we both love Last of Us.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's not much of a fan of the second one. We went over this on our I think it was our first episode, and yeah, that's where we butt heads is with Last of Us
Yeah.
2, right,
Yeah.
Brendan?
The
Right.
the second one is just I don't I don't I like it, but I goddamn do I hate it. But
Right.
in
Yeah.
their defense, uh, they do deserve Game of the Year. Compared to all the other options, it was a very good game. It just wasn't the kind of game that I would have preferred.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Of like video games and all these sort of distractions. I know that you're like a busy man, like I know that you have a speech to worry about, you have your last year of high school to worry about, and college and all that whatever. It's like, are video games, is that sort of like do you use that as a sort of like as a treat at the end of the day, like when you get through like a stressful hard day, like is that like what you go to, or are you actually like dedicated to the remote, like because I have no idea if you are a gamer or not, like I want to know.
I find that as the years go by, I find myself picking up the controller less,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I guess it has to do with um, one, maybe maturity. I don't know, or two, I really am busy, like you said.
Right.
But I feel as though I don't have time to, more so because of the dedication that I have to all of these activities and school. I tell my mother and Urban this, that uh, once the bell rings, it doesn't mean I'm automatically not a student anymore. I have homework, I have projects, and although we're not having finals, we have tests. And to have the gaming system in like my rearview mirror. I try to make time for it as much as I can, but it's very rare that I get to anymore. And if I do, it's towards the end of the day where I'm probably going to bed. But when I do get time to do it, I try to take it all in because it also symbolizes me and my childhood almost. just kind of coming to an end. As you stated, I am going to college next year, and I'm almost 18. And although you never want your games and everything to just go away just like that once you turn 18, because you still have all of your best years ahead of you, it's almost like it's time to put some things away. And I would hope that games aren't one of them, because sometimes games bring people together, even if it's not virtual. But video games, I feel like they're always going to be a part of my life, and it always has been. I feel like it always will be. And who knows? Maybe it'll follow me through college. But yeah, as far as right now, it's really so much the idea of finishing school and just my work strong. So then at the end, I could say, okay, now I can rest, and now I can enjoy myself, and now I can play whatever I so choose.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think video games are sort of like the pathway to your childhood. Like once you're done with like school or whatever, then you just like sit down and play for like 30 minutes or an hour, and it's like you're back to fourth grade playing the new Call of Duty game or whatever. And I think that's one of the great things about video games, and it's great to hear your insights on video games and yeah. But now that we're sort of like on the topic of what's next for Caleb, now that we're sort of like there with video games that's sort of getting pushed back, I want to know you personally, what's coming down the line for you? Like, what are you planning on doing after high school?
Well, of course, I do want to attend a four-year university. I have my options available. I do have a top option at the moment. I can't disclose it all, but I sooner or later it will come out. But um, growing up, and just a starting point, growing up, I grew up in a family of public speakers for so long, and the fact that they're still doing what they're doing kind of drives me to do what I want to do. And I've always had this certain idea about where can I branch off into this idea of public speaking. And it wasn't until November 8th, November 4th of 2008, where I knew what I wanted to do. I was with my grandfather, and I was staring at a bunch of blue and red dots and colors. Now, I didn't know what that meant at the time. And once I saw that the blue won, blue at the time was my favorite color, so I loved it, and I was happy. But it meant something even more to my grandfather. He was astonished, and he couldn't believe what was happening. So, 2008, it was a year of what was happening, and it was the first year, and the year that a lot of us hold dear to ourselves. When you see someone like me, or just of someone out of the social norm, achieve that high office. And I didn't know what that meant at the time until it was explained to me. And from then on, when I found out that Barack Obama won the presidency, I knew that one day maybe I could do that, because you love it when you get to see someone like you achieve something. I credit a lot of that as well 2 years ago when the Black Panther came out, where you have all of these kids, they're looking at someone who can they can say that's their idol. And when I saw that for me that was 2008. So from then on, I knew politics was going to be my thing, my drive. If not politics, then just political activism. And uh, from then on, it's just been a great thing for me. People have always asked, "Are you sure you want to be that guy, that senator, that congressman, maybe that president?" Because it's always been consistent throughout since I was 5, and I sound crazy for it, but it's always been a dream of mine, and it's something that when you have a dream, you always want to make sure that you stick with it. Otherwise, you get distracted and you find different routes. Which, I mean, you can always find new routes, but if you have a an adamant dream that you really want, then you should go for it. So once I knew what I wanted, nothing could stop me, and nothing is stopping me. So I do plan on attending college for a university. I plan on majoring in political science. I will come back to Illinois and make sure that I run for the Senate. or or as a congressman, um, stay my time here, and if I can gain the trust of Illinois and perhaps the country, then I could be your next president, maybe. And then after that, I feel like, and this is sorry if I'm off topic, but I feel like the measure of a good president is what he does after he leaves the office, because then you get to see his true character. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is when you guys get to see the real me, if you haven't already, how I carry myself in the face of accountability and after when I leave. So yes, that is my goal. It's a long stretch, and it's going to take a long time. But anything worth having does take time. So I'm looking forward to the trials.
I believe in you, man. That's probably the last thing that you really care about. But me personally, knowing you, I can see you there. You know, I can see you there.
Thank you,
So
man.
I'm excited. I can't. I know probably Brandon feels this way too. I mean, you hear him and it's electrifying, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, I was I was intrigued to that whole story. I mean, I was such a great story, and I mean, I have a passion for doing this and creating things and stuff like that. So just seeing someone with a passion for something else that normally I would be like tisking at or something, that's almost like awesome to see. And it's not like, oh, I want to change this because I hate it. It's like true passion for politics, and I've honestly have never seen that. And to see it in someone so young, that's such an amazing thing, and it's an amazing story too. And very well told. You should you should write a book, honestly.
Should I'd read it?
Someone
I'd buy it.
someone did someone did say that, and just to touch on that, I find that when you're passionate about something, you always, as stated before, you always want to stick with it. There's this Will Smith. He once said, "Don't have a plan B. It's great to have backups, but don't have a plan B, because then it distracts from plan A. And if you really care about plan A, then you won't have a plan B or C. You'll stay the course. And the fact that you're passionate about what you want to do, and you're passionate about what you want to do, if you have a passion, then no one can tell you no. But if you believe them, then everything is at a loss. So it's always a matter of first believing in yourself before anyone else can believe in you, because you're going to have doubters. It's going to be family. It's going to be friends. It's going to be people you don't even know. But if you stay the course and you stick with what you know and believe in yourself first, then nothing can stop you. But the only thing that can stop you at that point, it's not people, it's not outside forces, it's your own thinking in yourself. So you want to keep yourself in check first before you can even put anyone else in check on your beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something we all struggle with. I know me personally, it's I have my crazy dreams or whatever, and it's like it's also that what you mentioned, it's like doubting yourself. That's the first step to failure, is believing in feeding into like the things that people tell you, like, oh, sure, that's it's a nice dream, but do you really want to go there? And it's yeah, and looking at a person like you who's just so motivated, and you can already see it in them. You can already see them in the White House or on the stadium or whatever, and it sort of gives you sort of like a inspiration, and it's I appreciate that from you, that you sort of like give me that sort of push, and seeing you every day like at school or whatever, and it's a great thing to have, and it's great to know that there are still people like that around. It's very hard to find somebody who can motivate you with their words or with their actions, or and with their dreams. And yeah, but so you said something that or not really said, but like, knowing you, I know that every like there's only one you. I think I mentioned this before, and I don't know how to say this, but it's like, when somebody mentions Caleb, you automatically know who he is because you've already made your own character, and that's something that other people can't. You look around, and it's everybody. Nowadays, everybody's the same, but you look at you, and you're just this individual who just stands out on the crowd. And I gotta ask, it's like, is it hard to sort of put on that the mask that sets you apart from everybody? This upbeat, this upbeat personality who can't who's not going to take shit from anybody, who knows that you are you, and that yeah, like is it hard to like put on that attitude?
Found um, a lot through a lot of my life, plus within this pandemic, where it's hard to keep that energy for people. Um, and you know who I am, you know my character, uh, and sometimes that side of me that always willing to provide and help and sacrifice and dedicate my time to people or a piece of work that I may neglect with something else. Um, it could be hard and it could be tiresome because you love when you get to help and inspire people, but you also have those times where okay, you're human, you kind of want that reciprocated, and for a while I thought maybe I'm doing this for nothing. Maybe people only need me for this or that, and then I'm disposable. Um, and maybe I should just stop what I'm doing, stop all of the activism, my political correctness, my all of it. But going back to the previous idea, is when you have an idea, when you have a goal in mind, you're going to have people and just outside forces that are going to, disrupt your process and make you feel like what you're doing doesn't account for anything or isn't of, real importance. And it's all a part of life in my opinion, because if everything went swell or if everything went perfect or great, how do we learn? How do we separate people from who this person is and who that person is to determine if they really need you or if they're just using you. Um, I feel like through life we're always going to need to have these trials so we can learn to grow. I like to depict everyone as a phoenix. Every so now and then we're going to fall, we're going to burn, but it's through that pain and that idea that we are human, that we grow and we adapt and we learn and we progress. And for me, that's always been the idea, is because you're going to have those people that um, try to disrupt your process, disrupt your happiness, and sometimes you do have to put on that that fake persona. But if I'm going to be consistent with what I want to do and who I want to be, I feel like anything that I do can't be fake. And if it is, then um, it's not who I really am. So it can be hard at times, but you like I said, you always want to be consistent and just remain patient, because patience is going to carry you a long way with whatever you do. And as long as you keep that going, then nothing can stop you, not even your own self.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was beautiful, like beautifully said. Like like good job. I
right.
mean, you
Thank
you,
you.
you said even the like it would be better to be yourself than be fake. Like in summary. And I feel the exact same way. I pride myself on being an honest person and being who I am and not somebody else. I mean, there's that quote, I don't know who said it or even if this is word for word, but it's like, why be a second person or a third, fourth person when you could be the first you? And I like take that to heart almost. I think even if people don't like what I have to say or love what I have to say, as long as I'm being myself and saying what I feel like holds true, then that's what's best. Whether it's for best for me, best for other people, it doesn't matter. It's just it's what's best. Being fake is exactly that. It's fake, and we live in a world where everything is made up and made to trick us. I mean, even our own social media is just businesses trying to get money from us. So I think being an honest and true person is almost like not new, but
It's
different.
rare.
Yeah.
Right.
And you brought up a point. Even when like the people that you're around or just yourself, you try, you don't want to be fake or you don't want to put on this fake persona. If you want to aspire to be like someone, I like this quote that you brought up. Um, how you always want to be the first you. So you have those people that, or I've grown up with this. Oh, he's the next Obama or the next Dr. King or the next this. While they're great people, they're very great people, and you can learn a lot from them. I wouldn't want to be the second anything because I don't want to be second to anyone, and no one ever really should. I feel like everyone is in a league on their own, which is great because we're all unique, we're all different, and to be second to someone, it's not an insult. It's not an insult in any way, but it's not something that you want. You never hear anyone say, "I'm going for second place." No, you want first place, and in this case, you want to be the first you. You want to be the first Carlos, the first Brandon, the first Caleb, because then you can tell someone who wants to be the next you, no, be you. You don't. In fact, don't be me. Be better. That's what you want to do. So that's always the idea that you want to keep in mind is that you don't have to be anyone else. You can either be better or be yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking those words to heart right now, just because that's like I'm so serious on it. Like that's something that again I struggle with is that I'm always trying to see sort of like a model of a person, like, oh, maybe I should be more like him, or maybe I should be more like that. But it's like you're so right. You have to find a way to make your own character, make a person who people are proud to know. And that's again, I don't want to keep on repeating myself. That's sort of what you are. It's but yeah, now that we've, that was a great conversation. But I want to know, because Brandon mentioned something about social media, and like I said before, I have you on social media, and what you do with your platform is that you sort of use it to spread wisdom, and spread positivity. And that's something that you don't see a lot. You don't. You go on social media, it's people just bragging about the car they got or the new phone or whatever, and it's like. But with you, it's different. It's when you go on your Snapchat, you post these however long stories of you just like spreading wisdom, and it's something that I'm telling you, it's so rare. But yet you're like on the screen, you're like, oh my god, this is different. But it's like it's keeping my attention because when you're speaking for the people. You're sort of speaking for our generation when you're up there, when you're on your Snapchat, and it's and I gotta know, is it not is it hard, but like, do you feel a sense of duty when you go on Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram, wherever, to do these sorts of things?
When I find that there's something on my mind or something that I feel as though needs to be said or something that I think I just want to say, I do it and I don't give it a second thought because you have to recognize that in this day and age of technology and social media, you're going to have people that are going to judge you, that are going to not agree with you, that are going to have their own opinions, that are going to project. It's going to happen. You can't avoid it. And that's the one thing you have to keep in mind, but you also can't take it personal. It's so much more of an aside and projection of them, not so much you. It's something they have to work on. So with that, I always strive to make sure that people are staying aware or just people need reassurance because, like I said, in this day and age, especially with this pandemic, people aren't themselves. They're not who they used to be. They're not. They're not in a really great place. And for someone to try to brighten someone's day or try to give them words of encouragement, um, write paragraphs, give just make someone's overall life a lot better. To do that, it's not so much an advancement of myself. I don't need the attention. It's more so of out of genuine courtesy to really inspire someone to become a better version of themselves. And when we do that, then I find that it's a generational thing, because then they pass it on, and then they pass it on, which is why with parents, of course, you always want to make sure that you're training them up in a way that they're not departing from any good teachings, and then they pass that on and pass that on, and then it's a generational thing. And if you can do that with your friends, it's even better, because they're not your bloodline. So if you can inspire someone that you don't even know, or that you rarely see, or you see every day, then you're doing your part. We all have a part to do, and I feel as though I'm trying to do mine. And it all comes down to just believing that you're doing the right thing. Of course, you're going to have people that aren't going to agree, and you're going to accept it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But yeah, I like how you said that it's nice to like sort of like reach out to others, you know, sort of do your own part, and that's something that I always try to do with like my friends. And like just last night, I reached out to Brandon like, yo, how are you doing? You know, you also feel kind of good about it, right? It's always good to hear from others and to check up on your friends.
Yeah, and I'm really
Yeah,
happy to hear that someone's so young to do something like this, because all of the good things or whatever is always like overshadowed by all of the bad news or whatever is going on in the world that's in the category of bad. So hearing someone that's so young spreading such good things and trying to motivate people to do new things and give them motivation to do things is like, I'm almost it's a weird word since I've just met you, but I'm almost proud to hear that. And I
Thank
mean,
you.
I think you're doing a great job, especially since you're only 17 and a senior. I mean, like, you have such a bright future, and I'm really excited to see where you go.
Thank you so much. I won't lie. I put a lot of pressure on myself, pressure that I don't need, but um, you find that in a lot of overthinkers. But no, it's always just been something that I try to do, because if it's out of genuine courtesy, then you never want to expect anything in return, because then that makes you just a mercenary, or someone that really wants reciprocation. Although it can be nice at times, but um, you just do it out of the kindness of your heart.
yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, you guys are totally right. But I kind of want to get off topic here just because I gotta say I love your hoodie, Caleb. I'm a fan of Tupac. I'm not gonna say I'm the biggest fan of Tupac because I know there are other bigger fans than me. But again, I that's something else that we also have a common interest in is our interest in hip hop. And I gotta ask, you know, what do you listen to? You know?
What do I listen to? So this morning, actually, because I love Paul McCartney, I love the Beatles, and I also love the Wings, the group he was a part of after he left. And I was listening to this song, "Silly Love Songs." It's really great. But I love him. I was listening to Nat King Cole the other day. This group that I just found yesterday as well. The Pied. I've been listening to a lot of people. The Pied Pipers. Um, a lot of old jams. But I try to listen to a little bit of everything, except mm, forgive me if you like it, except country. I never really got into it as much, but you learn to adapt and grow. So maybe in the future, but um, no, I love a lot of them, but I think recently, or just more recently, I've been listening to a lot of the Beatles, because I grew up loving them, and I kind of strayed away from them a lot. And now learning about them, plus learning about them individually, it's you find a lot of information. I love John Lennon, and I didn't really know that he was much of an activist as well as a singer as well. And to hear his story and his background, it was it was interesting, and it made you think like, wow, the really good ones have to go so soon. It's a tragedy, but you also like to keep the memories and keep them alive in like just the overall spectrum of the world, and um, just hearing his words and what he preached and stressed about positivity and peace, you you find that a lot of old works of literature or music or anything, it relates a lot to today. And that's why I love music. It's that you find messages within from the past that relate to the future. And in a sense, they could just be warning us like, okay, if we continue doing this, it's going to happen again, and then continuing and then continuing and then continuing. And if we don't stop it, then we're going to keep falling into the same trap. So you find a lot of that message in a lot of art forms, and music just happens to be probably one of the most beautiful ones. So yeah, and then as far as the hoodie, no, thank you. It reminds me of that one line in the GI that we would always sing by
Oh
Tupac.
yeah,
Yeah, it
right.
was great.
Good times, good times.
I,
But
I was
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
man.
I was kind of hoping that you'd be like, oh yeah, I listen to Tupac like every day, because that would be funny. Since like the next president of the United States listens to Tupac every day.
dude.
But
Uh,
but no, the Beatles. I mean, they're a great band. I listen to them sometimes when I'm like relaxing or something. But no, I respect it. I respect the music taste.
no, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, the Beatles. You can't, dude. Come on, unmatched. I mean, I think like the Beatles have sort of formed their own religion almost. You know, it's sort of like
They
yeah, no,
did.
like it's you listen to a song, and whatever song you may be listening to, it's all up. It all comes down to love. You know, it all comes down to acceptance, accepting your neighbor as a brother. You know, and it's and what I enjoy so much about the Beatles is that it's although it's kept in the '60s era. I mean, like you said, it can you can apply their messages to today's days. You know, and it's although they're with most of the songs in the late '60s, they're all talking about like Vietnam and all of this, and it's crazy how much it relates to nowadays, and like how like that just like shows you the power behind music, and it's incredible.
All right, everyone. So it's going to seem a little bit odd, but Caleb ran out of battery on his phone, which is what he was recording on. So we're going to take a little break and then come back in a few minutes so we can finish out the episode. For you, it'll be just a few seconds, but enjoy the rest of the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back. I just, like you saw a few seconds ago, we had a battery issue, and now we're back a few minutes later. So, Carlos, care to take us into our next segment?
Yes, next segment. Well, we still have the great Caleb with us. I'd like to ask him a question. What is a perfect day for you? You know, you wake up, and what do you look forward to doing that would fulfill that 24 hours?
Well, I find that it's that old cliche saying, "The early bird gets the worm." And normally in my younger stage, I wouldn't want to follow that method, but I find that as you get older, um, and of course with what I want to do, it's rare that you get sleep, and sleep is very vital. But now waking up earlier than usual, 5 a.m. At the most, I I find that that's a great way to start my day off because one, no one is up, and two, it gives me a chance to really think about how I want the day to go. Um, I find that people just really expect the best or the worst and don't really make it or allow it to happen. I find that when you get up earlier and really just plan it out, moment by moment, second by second, so on and so forth, then you get to decide which how you want your day to go. So for me, it always starts earlier, and I find time to just, if I can, get some work done, watch a little TV, and then once dawn hits, it's really just all uh, guns ablazing. As far as the weekday school, get that done with, and once school ends, aside from my extracurriculars, I like to go outside, and I know it's weird because a lot of us don't, but I like to go outside and really just take a walk around my neighborhood because um, you don't know this, but I also live in the Country Club Hills area too. My mom got a house out here, and I really didn't grow up with the people around me. I don't know much or many people around here. So, and then the fact that I'm leaving next year, it's like, wow, I missed out on so many friends that I could have potentially had, or people that I could have met. So I like to walk around, like just do a quick circle around my block and say hi to anyone if I can. Just enjoy myself, enjoy the air, enjoy the weather. It's getting colder, so I really can't do that now, but I enjoy doing that, and then go back inside, recuperate, eat a good wholesome meal. I'm big on spaghetti. I love spaghetti.
Me too.
Yeah. And then for me, it's really just watching a good movie. If I can do that, then I feel like I had a really good day. And then it all comes down to what movie it is and what genre. Certain days I have my choice, and other days it's something else. I feel like I always go with those thrillers. Maybe I love thrillers, and I love old classics too. Um, and then on some occasions I might get a really good book. Over the summer, I read two good books, or I'm still reading one of them, but um, I try to make room for that. The book was called "Don't Call Me Dead." It's more so of a poetry book. So, Carlos, you and I are in Miss Philo's class
Right.
with counting descent. It's similar to that, and I love when you can really look at worldly issues or domestic issues through a line of poetry, and that's what that touches on. So, a good book, a good movie, really good food, and then just me time. It's a really great thing. And then if I can have all of that in a day, then then I had a really good day.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
sounds
feel you,
awesome. Um,
Yeah.
dude.
for me,
That'd make anybody's day.
for me, I agree. I think starting early is the way to go. Since I'm in the Pacific Standard Time, like New York, the stock market, they've already been open 4 hours by the time I usually get up. So
Hmm.
or if I was like to normally get up at a normal time, normal-ish time. So I get up at 5 in the morning on normal days, like you do, but I go work out first. I think running is like gets me going, or going to lift weights gets me going. It's just like a nice, clear refresher and a good way to start the day. Then I eat breakfast. Uh, then I'm like in school. I get all my schoolwork done. And then when I'm done with school, it's usually around noon. I focus on side projects like the podcast. I'm in FBLA, so that's when I do my projects. Uh, then that usually takes me out to the rest of the day. Um, I try to get done with all that around 5 or 6, about when dinner's done. Then I eat dinner, and that's when I like you. I not I like you, but like you, I like to watch movies.
Hmm.
I think watching a good movie is a good way to relax, especially if you're doing with friends, with loved ones, or something. Watching a very good movie and enjoying that experience with someone else is a good way to tone down and relax for the night. Then again, like you, I'm gonna start reading books. Uh, when I start to work again over winter break for school, I'm going to buy a few books of how to become like financially stable, and how to become like a millionaire at 20 or something like that. Just so I can have that advantage when I move on with my life after high school. Then around 11 or probably 10 more likely, I try to go to bed. Um, yeah, just for me, every day is like almost a learning experience, and a good day could be any day as long as I'm productive. I think productivity, as long as I'm productive throughout the day, and I felt like I got stuff done that day, I can rest easy.
The beauty of us being here now in this day and age, you really get to, at the end of the day, you get to decide whether or not it was a good day or not. And even if it was, that's when you have to decide, okay, how can I make it better the next day? how can I improve, or how can I make sure that if I didn't have a good day today, then I can make sure that happens tomorrow. And even if, because I guess I really shouldn't have said that, because you always want to make every day a good day, because you never know if there is a tomorrow. So you always want to keep in mind that any day could be your last. So you want to make every day as good as possible. Um, and of course, like I said, we're human. We're going to have problems, stress, just trials that we face. But if we can acknowledge them, but not let them take control over our lives, and dictate our decisions and the people around us, then that's how we find true happiness in a day. And if we're lucky, then we get to try to get better the next day.
Yeah, I mean that sounds great, and like perfect advice, really. Treat every day like it's your last. I hear my dad tell me
Exactly.
that all the time. So, what about you, Carlos? What's your perfect day?
My perfect day. Well, I'm like you guys as well. I like to wake up early in the morning so that I can feel refreshed, so that I can go the rest of my day feeling satisfied. Because I feel like that's something that I used to struggle with a lot, was waking up extremely late. Like I'd wake up in the afternoon, like, oh my god, it's like my day's already ruined. Like what do I have left? I have a couple of hours, and it's like the plans for my day would be ruined. So like I think it's over the summer that I really started to get on my stuff. I started to get on my grind and be like, okay, I'm gonna set an alarm, and I'm gonna wake up at this exact time. And if I press the snooze, I have like five other alarms, because like I need to get up early. And it consists of waking up early, and then like you, Brandon, like I like to get some morning exercise to get my mind jogging, and it's I think it's really important. Or sometimes I'll even meditate for a couple of minutes, even though that's kind of hard for me, because like I'm sort of the person who, like, I cannot stand still. Like if my body is moving, my mind is. It's complete. It's always like moving, like going from things to things, like conversations that I had or whatever. And it's like but it's still, meditating is sort of like my it's sort of interesting, because you can really start to understand yourself. And whenever you're like in the moment meditating, and you see that your mind is wandering to another direction, like you can sort of like catch yourself, and like sort of like maybe analyze what that thing is, and how that whatever that may be is affecting you. And you can sort of deal with that after you're done with your practice. And so after like a good meditation or whatever, then I'd go home. It's and I always give my all in my protein shakes, just because that's sort of like my reward, like after I wake up early, and after I and it's always that protein shake that gets me through the morning. I'm like, all right, sure, I'm gonna wake up early, but at least I get my protein shake, and it's dude, I go all out with it. I mean, I put like peanut butter, eggs, everything. All right, and then yeah, I mean, with school going on, I do school, and it's interesting now. We have to log into our computers or our iPads, but it's although it's a challenge, I think it's a challenge that we really need to understand it. And whether it's coming from a teacher who's having a hard time keeping their students on the camera, and making sure that they're on. It's also it comes down to us, that we need to understand that it's not all about us. It's difficult all over, and that's something that I've really been trying to improve on, is treating it as sort of a challenge that must get conquered. That I must, because we don't know where this is going to go a few months down the road. So I like to sort of improve myself with e-learning. And after that, it's I won't lie to you, I enjoy taking at least a 30-minute nap after school, just so like drain myself, and then boom, get on my homework, get on everything. But yeah, I think the nap after school is really important, just because it's also good, because I mean, you get your eyes off the screen for 30 minutes, which is it's great, it's what you want. But yeah, after that nap, like I said, I go straight to my homework. Well, actually, I don't really, like, I don't tend to have a lot of homework after school, just because I'm very focused on getting it done, whether it's during lunch or whenever I have for time. Just because I'm sort of the person who I'd rather take care of like the big burdens before they turn into this big clump of, oh my god, I have this paper due or whatever. And after that, Yeah, watch a movie like you guys. But I'm telling you, movies. I mean, come on. There's never a wrong moment for a movie. I mean, yeah, a funeral maybe, but like you have a good movie, and it's like the rest of your day is boom. It can only go up from here. You know. But and then I recently, not always, but recently I've been trying to go to the gym 2 times. And so it's usually at 8. I go with my mom. I try to encourage my mom to come with me because it's always nice to keep like your family as healthy as you want to be. So after that, I uh, I take a shower and then I read a book and I try to read at least a chapter of a book. But like I said, it's really hard for me to stay in one spot. Even reading that's also very difficult for me because while I'm reading a good book, it's all my mind is also going to the conversation I had with Brandon or whatever. It's like, oh my god, but it all comes down to finding the right book, and sort of practicing. Even when you're reading, you can also like kind of meditate. Like you read the words and you sort of like engulf yourself in the mind of the author. And recently, I don't want to get off topic here, but I read a very good book. It's called Fortunate Son. It's a memoir of a Vietnam War veteran, and it's one of the most. It was actually life changing. That's what you want to get out of a book. Is something that can be thought provoking while also have some great writing. And yeah, after that, then that's when I call it a night. I head to bed, and all right, you guys might judge me for this, but after I go to sleep, I always have to watch one episode of The Sopranos. I can't go without it. That's my perfect day right there. One episode of Sopranos, boom, call it a night, whatever, until the next day. But that's pretty much it.
No judgment here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, The Sopranos, dude.
Okay.
I cannot, and it's sort of like this TV show where you can't really recommend it to a friend just because it's so. And I told this to my good friend Jacob. It's so draining. It's like 60 minutes of like gore and like mafia drama, and it's like, why am I watching this? But why am I not? Like, why haven't I been watching this sooner? It's crazy. But you guys have to watch it, please. Trust me. Watch The Sopranos.
I'm gonna mark that down, and I will take your word because honestly, you do recommend some really great things,
Dude, I
and
got you.
you haven't led me down the wrong path yet. So I will take your word on that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
appreciate it.
I preach that, Carlos. You, most of the movies or TV shows that I've watched have come from you. Like you have such a good taste, and like it's very similar to mine. So every time you have a recommendation, I just write it down real quick.
Dude, movies. That's my church, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If you guys are ever in need of a good movie, whether it be you're in a specific mood, even to the audience out there, reach out to me. All right, I got you. You don't have to scroll through, all that Netflix stuff. I got you. Come to me. But all right. Now that we're sort of like on the topic of entertainment or whatever, I kind of wanted to ask you because I know that we met in GI, which for those who don't know, it's sort of like a play almost, sort of the play, but brought down to earth and very. It was very interesting just because it was my first time, and I'm not sure if it wasn't your first time. I know that. But yeah, I kind of wanted to ask you: Are when you're are you like a performer? Like, do you pride yourself in being a performer? Like, is that one of the things that is like your strong suit that people must know about you?
Well, I will say this: it was never something I heavily considered. In fact, I was never supposed to be in GI, uh, but I found that over time, aside from just speaking, I could be good at other things. And um, I had one person call me uh, the jack of all trades. I didn't know what it meant at first until I did my research. And you know what? Maybe I am. I don't know. But no, performing now, it's become like a hobby and something that I do take very seriously now because um, I guess it really would just depend on how you would define performing. I did plays before. I've done theatrical settings. I've sung before. I've played the trumpet. Um, so I have my fair share with performing, and I found that over time it's just become like a discipline for me because I never took it seriously to begin with, but now that I'm in it and I do it so often, it's kind of become a part of me now. So, yeah, initially I didn't want to be a performer. I was literally just a public speaker in that sense. But now it's okay. Sure, I can do this one thing, but people have to see this side of me and this side of me and that side of me. They haven't seen it yet, and if they can see that, then it does open a lot of doors for if you want to go into something else, or people see that be you can be an avid performer in this area. It would be a really good thing for someone to see that. So I try to put myself out there in that performing aspect. Um, so yeah, it's been something that, like I said, initially wasn't always on my mind, but it's become a part of me now, and I love what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you do a great job at it too. I mean, when I was in GI, I was like sharing the stage with you. I'm like, oh my god, Caleb is brilliant. Is there anything that he can do? Because I mean, you go up there and it's like you become the character, which is very hard to find in a high school play or whatever. And it's and yeah, I'm still getting there because it was like my first GI, and having the privilege of sharing a stage with somebody who can teach you how to get there, and for that I'm extremely grateful. And which is it's kind of interesting though, because I how I met you in GI, which is kind of similar to how I sort of formed my bond with Brandon, because we not it was more like an improv sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of funny how you make such great friendships through these performance classes or extracurriculums or whatever. That's kind of ironic.
I find that you find some of your best friends, or just really good friends in general, through not just extracurriculars, but through just the theater and, like I said, performing aspect of school. You find that, one, they separate themselves from the other 90% of kids in high school or just school in general, because they pride themselves on this standard that they need to be higher than what others expect them to, or higher than what they already see themselves as. And you find that commonality amongst all of them, plus yourself, and it's something you can all relate to. And when I met you, I knew, okay, this guy is really good. Um, so I knew I had to meet you, and of course, we were going to meet each other regardless, because I find that the cast, we always need to bond if we're going to give a good show. But besides the fact that we didn't really have a real show, we were still able to connect and become really good friends. And the fact that I get to of course be your captain and just teach in any way that I can, it's a really good thing, because being a leader or just a friend in general, you always want to, of course, teach and help out, but you also get to learn. And quite frankly, you taught me a lot in just a short amount of time, and that's something that you find among really good friends. And once again, you find a lot of those friends in theater for some reason. I don't know why. I guess it's a theme, or a trend. You find them in theater, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad I was able to be a part of this as well. So I'm looking forward to a lot of things, but yeah, it's like I said, it's just a commonality thing that you find among all those kinds of people.
I think you brought up something really interesting, Caleb, where uh, Carlos learned a lot from you, but you also learned a lot from Carlos. And I think that that's the best friendships, where you can each other be mentors for each other, and you can't only trust each other. Like obviously, friends are going to trust each other, but you can also learn from each other and create memories with each other. And I think that will create like a lasting bond more than anything else. And for anyone who's looking for a good friendship, look for a person that you can learn from, because chances are they can learn from you as well.
Definitely. And I learned from a colleague of mine, you never want to be a yes man. And what I mean by that is that you never want to agree with everything that a friend or a family member, or just someone that you see highly of. You never want to agree with them all the time, because then you're not you're not challenging each other. You're not growing together. You're staying complacent in the sense that everything is going to be like this and everything is going to be like that. But why can't it become better? So I'm not saying Carlos and I have challenged each other, but I'm sure we have views that we may not see eye to eye on, or we may have differing views. But the idea is that, okay, you think this, I think that. How can we come together and make it even better? That's the one thing that I find, and quite frankly, I find this among politics as well. Sorry to branch off, where it's Democrat and Republican. Okay, you believe this, you believe that, you think this, you think that. How can we come together, be bipartisan, and focus on what's the big issue? And it's the big issue, or the big idea we want to focus on, is the American people. In this case, with Carlos and I, or just anything in general, how can we fix whatever is, a problem, or how can we agree on something that we may have differing views on, or just, make it into unison where your views are with my views and my views are with your views, and we create something a lot more beautiful and better.
Yeah, I like how you said that we can mark each other's progress, through challenging ourselves and learning from one another. And I guess that also kind of comes down to having optimism for mankind, for sort of believing and believing that we can come together, we can accept each other as brothers, and so. But I gotta ask you, just because I know that you're a very, like I said, very optimistic person. Do you ever feel sort of like conflicted with that? Because I mean, you look at you can already see that you do have hope for humanity, to strides towards greatness, to come together. But I have to ask, do you think that we as humans, and I don't want to throw, a big question at you, but I mean, do you think that, do you think that humans are better at creating or destroying? And I think this is a question that's, it's very relevant for, turn on the news. And it's like, yeah, this is a question that we need the insight from somebody as interesting as you. So what do you think about it?
I think it comes in twofold. I believe that people have they're already built on the premise of human nature, meaning they're already going to have aspects of great good, and great evil. There's never been a person alive that hasn't, held both concepts, and there will never be a person who will ever just hold one. Um, and that's the first part. The second part is that throughout humanity, there's always been conflicts, and conflicts always come when someone wants to bring forth maybe a new idea, or something that could change, or something that may stay the same. And that's where you see a lot of uh, differentiation in views, a lot of conflicts, and then that could lead into something more catastrophic. So I think we're capable of great good and evil, and we throughout history we have caused a great amount of destruction. But I recognize that people evolve, they grow, and they adapt. And the good thing about us, this human race, is that we learn, we experience things. And I mentioned this earlier, how sometimes we have to go through things to understand who we are, and how we can grow, or how we can not go back to where we were. Um, because I like to think of it as, you're in the middle of a road. Would you rather go forward or backward? And when you ask yourself that question, ask yourself what's ahead of you that you're not looking back towards anymore. That can be anything. Um, so to end that question, I believe it's we are destined for great good and evil, but it's also a matter of perspective, and there's a spectrum. Some people believe that good is a spectrum, where that could take them down a path they don't really want to go down, but they believe that's that's the right thing to do. And you have those people that will argue, no, there's good and there's bad. That's all there is to it. So I do believe that. Well, I don't believe there's a spectrum. I know that there's good and there's bad. That's what it is. But I think it also takes learning and experience. And once we experience those negative effects, those trials, and those conflicts, that's when we learn from them, and that's how we grow from them as well. So I truly believe that we are destined for creation and also preservation, because we're given a beautiful planet. We're given a beautiful reality. It's a matter of keeping it together, you know, not letting it go to waste and not letting it fall down to pieces. If we can preserve it and create from it as well, then we're already enhancing whatever you believe in, spirituality, God, whatever. We're already enhancing what was given to us. And from there, I believe we can create even more and build better and faster. So at the end of the day, I truly believe that we're destined for creation and not destruction. You'll have people that want to destroy, but I feel like sometimes they're misguided, and it there's a lot of factors that go into play. But um, deep down, I truly believe that everyone has a mode of positivity to them. It's just a matter of tapping into it. And once we do that, then I believe this world can be a better place.
I think you brought up a good point where kind of the main source of that was there's there is good and there is evil, and it's kind of mixed because some of the evil creates some of our good. Like if you cut down a forest, you're building houses. It's kind of weird, but I think with all of the bad things that humanity is doing, I think we could do almost a U-turn where we could make those bad things into good things. One of the biggest examples, and probably the only one I'll give, is the emissions and global warming. Like China is the biggest CO2 emitter in the world by a lot. If we just give all those plants solar energy, then there would be no emissions because they're not burning fossil fuels. But
Mm-hmm.
that costs a lot of money. And ultimately, whether something is good or bad, I think it comes down to money. People always want money and they'll do whatever it takes to get more money. If it's cheaper to burn fossil fuels than put in solar panels and run off clean energy, then they're going to run fossil fuels whether it's good for the environment or not because they're making more money. So ultimately, I think we can change things for the better, but not if everyone is not involved, if that makes sense. I think it
Oh, yeah,
takes
definitely.
I think it takes everyone, like everyone as in every country in this one example, to come together and make a pact for clean energy. Even if there's one uh, country that's like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna run off fossil fuels. Then other countries are gonna be like, well, if they're doing it, then I can do it too. And it's just a domino effect from there. Um, but yeah, that's just one example of, I think bad can turn into good, um, but also maybe good can turn into bad if you go too far.
Exactly. And also, you can't have one without the other, and that's just the reality of things. Um, I'm a nerd. I'm bringing this into it. So you have Star Wars, and you can't have the light side without the dark side. There has to be a balance. It's the Force. In this case, it's just our reality. But the idea is learning from maybe the bad, and how you said with the U-turn, how we can create good out of the bad that maybe just happened. So, and I like the point that you brought up with China, because yeah, it's bad. Um, but yeah, now it's figuring out how can we fix what we did, because ultimately we're the ones who create the problems. It's not the animals, it's not the plants, it's not the sky, and it's not the ground. It's always us, because we're the ones, we're creating, we're moving. And like I said, creation, you know what? This is a good point. Creation can sometimes lead to destruction in that instance, because how you mentioned, we cut down the trees to create houses or buildings and schools. We're taking away a landscape for the wildlife that was maybe there. But I guess from there you have those wildlife preserves that we create. So it's always like a back and forth kind of thing. And I guess I'm bringing another movie into this. You have The Lion King. It's the circle of life. Everything goes around about, and it's a matter of just keeping it that way. So I guess it's not so much a matter of good creation or destruction. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to preservation, because we're going to create and we're going to destruct, but how can we preserve what was already given to us? And then in some cases, how can we make it better without destroying or creating a bigger mess?
Yeah, no, I
Right.
agree. Carlos, what do you think though?
Yeah. Well, first, I'd like to say I can listen to these movie references all day. All right. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. But no, yeah, I like the idea that you mentioned, how creation can lead to destruction. I think that's a concept that we really have to wrap our minds around, because it's it sounds absurd, but it's true. But something that I want to ask you while we're still on this topic is, do you think there's a certain belief that we all must understand and learn in order to progress forward, to persevere? Is there, like, if you would, like, could boil it down to just one belief system, what would it come down to?
Um, can you define belief system for me,
Yeah,
as
like,
far as?
yeah, like whether it be oh my god, my mind's blinking here. Like, whether it be believing in teamwork, or believing in, I don't know, like all these things that can make for a good, a good progression. Like, what would it be? Would it be moving, getting together, or staying in family, and, like, sort of like strengthening that family? Or how would you put it down to?
So, and thank you for asking that, and for clarifying. Uh, I truly believe, when you boil it all down and you come to a consensus, it's a matter of believing in change and growth and progress. You can, they're all synonyms, but that's what it comes down to. Because I was talking with a friend, and she said that people, once they reach a certain age, they can't change. They're not going to change. It's impossible. I don't believe that. And I truly believe that everyone is capable of changing, whether they be young or old, especially old, because you find that some people are just adamant on their ideas. But I believe it always comes down to believing that we can change, that society can change, and that sometimes our very thinking can change. Because, as mentioned, you don't want to be a yes person, because then your ideas aren't growing. They're not fluctuating. They're always going to be the same. And when you come across an obstacle and you're only using this piece of advice, it may not be that advice for this subject. So you always want to keep an open, and that's the thing, keeping an open mind. Because when you do that, then you open yourselves to greater opportunities, and that's what it comes down to. So change is something that I truly believe we all must believe in, because once we believe in that, then I believe the sky's the limit. And from here on out, generations can learn from maybe our mistakes or our successes as well, and keep.
Are we having a technical difficulty? I'm not getting anything.
I just heard you, Carlos.
Hello?
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I didn't.
Hello?
I didn't hear. I didn't hear you finish what you said, Caleb.
Yeah. Neither did I.
Sorry. Yeah, no, basically what I was saying was it all boils down to believing that change is possible and that we can grow from it because I'm not sure if you heard, but as I said, it's a matter of teaching our generations that anything is possible, and through change, you can challenge our old beliefs or learn from our belief system that maybe it's not working for you, but you can enhance it. So that's all. I believe it all comes down to change and growth and progression.
I definitely agree with that. I think change, like people realizing that change is going to happen, is a big thing. To almost expand on that thought, I think it also boils down to that people are different, but people are also the same. Like, for example, we're all the same because we're all humans. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to do X, Y, and Z as kids and get in trouble and learn from those mistakes and X and so on and so forth. That's just going to happen because we're all humans. But we're also all different in the fact that we're male, female, whatever gender we want to be. We can change our gender. We can love whoever we want to love. We have different passions. Our beliefs are different. Like there's so many factors that creates a person that everyone is going to be different. And I think something that's like prohibiting us from moving forward as a species is the people that realize that there is change but won't stand for it. Like people, like with the LGBTQ community, I accept that. I accept that people are going to be who they are, and I'm going to love them for that. I think people who are coming out and being who they truly feel who they are is a great thing. Everyone has a right to be who they want to be. But there's others who are like the opposite of me and think that it's bad or sacrilegious to do something like that. So I think that the more that people realize that, yes, there is change, but not only that, they're willing to accept that change, then we'll truly progress as a society.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what Caleb mentioned earlier. It's like it's keeping an open mind, because I mean, like with this day and age, how science keeps on contradicting itself, and we're sort of forced to change our mindsets, and change our beliefs in certain things, and for others, the much older generation, it's very hard for them. It's very hard for them to accept whether it be two individuals who share the same feelings for each other, and maybe. Yeah, sorry, I got a call there. Did I cut out?
You did,
You're
but
good.
you're back.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, I think it comes down to keeping an open mind and accepting the fact that in order for us to move forward as a species and as like an entire human population, and I'm sorry for butchering the question because I mean this is a deep but important question. It does come down to keeping an open mind and being caring for one another, being thoughtful for one another, and I'm glad to hear both of your guys' opinions on them because I mean you guys just gave some beautiful responses right there. So I appreciate your guys' words.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
I think this is a good time for the last act. For you,
Yeah,
Caleb, the last act is like a play on words since our podcast is the last act.
we're
Where
creative.
it's a conclusion. It's where we give our final thoughts and then we close up the episode. So, Caleb, what are your final thoughts on what we talked about today?
I truly believe that the last statement that you and Carlos made about keeping an open mind, it was really good. So I think that was pretty much the theme of this entire conversation. You hear different views and opinions that kind of co-align as well um, through different people, and you once again you learn from each other, you grow and you adapt, and I feel like in just an hour, I've grown and adapted to my own thinking, and it was such a really great blessing to do so, because you don't get opportunities like this. I mean, this is a podcast. I love these, so um, it was really good, and I love the fact that we were able to talk about really serious social issues and personal ones as well, because you always want to um, keep people in line with one another and focus on the things that matter. And so I really believe that we touched on that this evening.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It truly has been a pleasure.
Yes.
Um,
But
I think your summary is going to speak for mine as well. I think the thing I love about this podcast is we're going to have different people on, and that's different ethnicities, different people with their own opinions. We're not going to really specify who's on the show, and we're going to get different like looks on how people think. And I think that's how we're really going to become the true open-minded on how people are, and how like myself or Carlos or even you, Caleb, can realize that people are different, but people are the same. So that's ultimately my summary. What about you, Carlos?
yeah, well, it was great to hear from Caleb, who, like I mentioned before, I've known for a while, and I think this podcast or this episode really let me out the opportunity to learn more about him, and feel a greater sense of a respect for you as an individual, and yeah, and like Brandon said, I think this podcast truly does give us the opportunity to sort of like study different people and how and their beliefs, and sort of entertain them and be like, yeah, take something out of what you guys are giving us. And for that, I'm extremely grateful, and I think we did touch on some topics that I'm gonna take them to bed with me. Like I'm gonna think about them for my entire weekend, longer than that, just because. And I think this episode really did. I think we nailed it. I feel very satisfied. Which is a good feeling to have after you're done with any sort of project. Is like, yeah, you feel like what you came to do, you did it. And you murdered it with flying colors. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. Both Brandon and Caleb, like I said, we exchanged some very insightful thoughts. But now what's next, Brandon? Tell us what's next, please.
The good news.
The good
We finally
news.
get to tell our good news. I think we should start off with our guest. Like guest is always first, and then Carlos, and then I'll close it out. So,
Yes, of
every
course. So
episode for the audience, we are wanting to spread good news. I'm explaining for those who are new to watching. There's a lot of ugly stuff that's in the news these days, especially with COVID and everything else that's going on. That Carlos and I kind of got sick of it, and we're just trying to, even for the 37 people or whatever that watched our first episode that saw our good news. Then you know what? We changed 37 people's lives that saw good news happening around the world, and it could be one person or a million, and I'd still feel just as good that I changed someone else's life, knowing that I was spreading good news that was happening around the world. But anyways, with that, Caleb, what did you find today?
yeah, so I found today, and speaking of COVID, I'm glad that you mentioned that. This past Tuesday on December 8th, a 90-year-old grandmother became the first person in the UK and the world to receive the Pfizer vaccine. It was the first one authorized by their government, and she was the first one approved for it. And now the nation's health service, the National Health Service, it's getting a fast track on their immunization program. And this patient, her name was Margaret Keenan. She turns 91 next week, and it was marked as a historic vaccination. She quoted to the Associated Press that I can finally look forward to spending time with my family and friends in the next year after being on my own for most of the year. I also just found out that the FDA just approved the Pfizer vaccine for the U.S. So it looks like we're in a great place. We still have a long way to go, of course, but progress nonetheless. So I believe this is a great historic mark today.
That is great news right there. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it's kind of, almost a full year since we've dealt with this because I think it was like the end of November, beginning of December when COVID started to surface in the news. So it's kind
Really.
of like a realization like, dang, this took a long time, but it kind of seems like we're coming at the end now. We're like the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak.
Right? We're
Exactly.
almost there. Yeah. And this is, I mean, it's incredible because I mean, although these events have, sort of separated us, they've also we've also found a way to like, come together. And I think with this vaccine, I think great things will come from this. And whenever they do, like Brandon said, whenever he comes down to visit, we can maybe do this podcast in real life because I like the three of us. I mean,
That would be
I'm
awesome.
sensing some strong. Yeah, come on, we got it. Yeah, but
Definitely.
yeah, that's great news to hear. Thank you for that, Caleb.
Of course.
Now on to mine. Mine is more, it's more grounded, but it's sweet because a news like this sort of reminds you of the people who you should really be thankful for. And some heroes that aren't really receiving some credit right now are teachers. They're at the front line of it all. They're teaching us. And it's a serious challenge. And for this teacher, a third grade teacher, I wrote it down because I didn't want to ruin her name. Erin Durga, who donated a kidney. It's a kidney, right? Yeah, who donated a kidney to her fellow custodian, the school's custodian. He was in need of a kidney, and although he was receiving fundraisers and all this, his health was deteriorating. And it wasn't until his daughter, Patrick Merton's daughter, who was reaching out and asking for a donor, that the third grade teacher took it upon herself to donate her kidney. And I think that truly shows you that some of our biggest heroes are just, I mean, they're right there. They're the
Everyday
teachers.
people.
I think everyday
Yeah.
people, right? Yeah. And for Aaron Durga, I mean, what an incredible person. To make a sacrifice that big is, oh my God, that's what defines a hero, right? I mean, it's taking a sacrifice,
Yeah.
And, yeah. Also, I want to mention that it took place in Minnesota. So I guess
Okay.
the Minnesota nice phrase, maybe we should. Yeah, maybe that is true. Don't discredit that. Minnesota nice. Yeah. Brandon.
Definitely.
on to you, Brandon. What do you have for us?
I found that the island province in China bans all disposable plastics and rallies to ramp up biodegradable substitutes. So there's an island. It's like I think it's a province. Yeah, province in China. It's called Hainan, I believe. And the province banned plastic food containers, forks, drink cups, and all of those little small plastic things that you see in that aisle in the supermarket, and they replaced it all with biodegradable plastics to obviously reduce the amount of pollutions in the world. And by 2025, Hainan / China hopes to achieve a complete plastics management system and supply biodegradable plastics throughout the entire world. So
Ooh,
throughout,
big win for our environment.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I saw that and I thought that was like a big step forward because I know that people like there's this big system in America, especially where like recycling, and you see on some bottles where 50% of this bottle was recycled and all that. But and that's great and all, but I mean, how many people actually recycle? Because it's just easier to just throw things away. So I think just having biodegradable stuff to start with that is also recyclable is like a win-win. That's why I was interested in that.
That's really good. We learned about something like this. It was about 3 years ago, my freshman year. We learned about stuff like that, especially within China. So the fact that they're making change with that's really good, and it's very insightful as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was very. I don't want to throw shade at China because I think they're not as bad as people say they are, but with their reputation, I think something good that
Oh
they're
yeah,
doing
yeah.
is, a good step forward.
Right. And that ties in with what we've been discussing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
convenient.
So convenient, right? Yeah. But Brandon, I think we've reached an end. Do you want to
Yeah.
take us away here?
So again, Carlos, thank you for hosting another episode with me. It's a treat every time. Thank you for Caleb for being our second guest on our show on our third episode. Yeah, it's a mess. But yeah, I'm very grateful for this episode. I think this is our best one so far by far.
Might be, yeah, by far.
Caleb, I hope to have you on the podcast again. I just think you're a great person, and if there's anyone that should be on our show again, you're on the list for sure.
Definitely.
Of course, anytime you need me, just let me know.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But with that, thank you for everyone watching. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment, let us know what you think, what you would like for us to talk about, things like that. But yeah, this has been the Last Act Podcast. Thank you for watching.